What is going on, you guys? This is Brandon.
I'm Michael.
Stefan.
Welcome back to Comic Scenes. Welcome back to Archives. This is the show where we review a book that's pretty long, and it's a lot of fun. This has been a really successful show. I believe this is the 5th or 6th book that we are going to be talking about. So thank you guys for your support of this new show and this new addition to the brand. It has been very exciting, and it's awesome just getting to read a book, discuss it, review it. We are reviewing, we are discussing, we're breaking it down, so there are full spoilers ahead. Today we are going to be talking about the Eternals. This is by Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. So this is the 7-issue miniseries that came out in 2007, so kind of Civil War era. The reason why we picked this book and not the classic Jack Kirby from the Bronze Age is mainly because this is more of a modernizing Eternals, and in today's society, it's much easier for newer readers to kind of gather stuff from more modern titles. And with the movie coming out, which this is coming out the day of the movie, so make sure you guys go see it. Keep your spoilers to a minimum for those who don't get the chance to see it opening weekend, or maybe are waiting for it to come out on Disney Plus because of the pandemic and people's comfort levels going to movie theaters. You never know. So just be courteous of that and be sensitive to other people and how they like their movie experience to be. But we're picking this book mainly because I think it'd be a great starting point for where the movie's going based off the clips we have gotten so far. It looks like a lot of the same settings are going to be used, and this is just a great interaction between the Eternals and the Avengers, kind of post Civil War, what their version of Civil War was, and kind of post Thanos. Right,
Yeah.
So Kirby was on the book. It was pre-Thanos creation. Obviously, we talked about this is Kirby's baby, but before we talk about the Eternals, I want to say that this was a concept that Kirby introduced in the New Gods when he went over to DC to do his own stuff. Kirby was huge on making sci-fi comics. So he created the New Gods, which we know them nowadays. You got Orion, Darkseid, Mr. Miracle, among many others. Unfortunately, that book never really sold. It was never really it was well received by the people who were reading it at the time, but the concepts were so high powered and ahead of that time, it didn't really get the fan service that it should have, or that it would have today. You know, now that we have other sci-fi projects like Dune, Star Wars, Star Trek, I think having that knowledge, even probably like something like Alien, kind of diving into that whole space concept and that greater power, or maybe even more books on gods, right? And how gods think, how gods act. So we see what Percy Jackson does. Successful or not, the books are great. But even if we had more studies of that in 1969, 1970, when the New Gods came out, maybe it would have been more better received. But when Jack Kirby came back to Marvel in 1974, he took the same concepts from the New Gods and just transferred it right into the Eternals. Yes, he can do it because he created it. It's his baby. He can copy himself all he wants. But this is 100% a Jack Kirby project. So whenever you think Eternals, think Jack Kirby creating characters such as that we're going to see in this book, such as Icarus, Cersei, Thena, Makari, Sprite, Gilgamesh, Druig, and Zurus. Those are the characters that we are going to be working with today. The way that the Eternals work is they were created by the Celestials. So if you want to reference this in a visual, think of those big guys in Guardians of the Galaxy that we saw when the Collector tried to use the Power Stone.
Nowhere.
I'm sorry?
At nowhere.
On nowhere. Yeah. Just pulling this right from nowhere, you know? But from nowhere, the planet.
No, yeah,
so,
yeah, that was a good play already.
I know. So from nowhere, when we kind of saw it, so that's kind of the concept. There are these big guys, or if you're reading the current Avengers run, where the Avengers are operating out of, the head of a Celestial. So they're big.
Yeah.
They're like making Shaquille O'Neal and Yao Ming look teeny tiny, kind of big, you know?
Teeny
tiny little living space, kind of quoting the genie, you know? Come on, no one got it? Okay, I'm an Aladdin fan. Okay, so they created the Eternals. They created a bunch of kind of before preceding mankind to all fit a societal role. So some people have like speed, some people can fly, some people have great technology powers, so they can fit a certain role in society. Think of the Inhumans that we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the TV show when the leader, when Sky's mother was saying, hey, or Daisy's mother was saying we each fit a role, right? it's the same. It's a very similar concept,
Okay.
right? Because you're creating a god. What is the role when you're playing with gods? When you're playing with power, there's always a downside,
Yeah.
right? So what is the downside to being an Eternal? Well, you only have one select skill set, right? And the whole premise is they were being torn apart by the other beings on Earth, which were monsters, which we are going to see in the film that is coming out on Friday due to the trailer. And they would pick them apart and study the Eternals, or what they were called the Eternals. So now there's like a select group of them trying to watch mankind as they grow, right? Also going back home. So another reference you can say is basically Omni-Man, the Viltrumite, on Earth. He would be the perfect example of Icarus. I would say, just less. Well, he's more evil. So
Yeah.
I would say he's more evil. I was like, wait, who am I talking about? So that's basically the premise. I hope that helps. Ikaris is probably the most well-known Eternal. Maybe you guys know Cersei because she probably looks the best visually. And she's being played by... Who's she being played by? Isn't she being played by Angelina Jolie?
Yes, sir.
Or is Athena playing Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, I thought it was Athena.
I thought Athena was...
Is it Oh, you know who isn't it the actress who played Mantis in Guardians?
No, but I wish. Someone we'll figure it out later, but we'll figure out when we watch the movie. You know what? We'll figure it out then. But as always, you guys, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We have a couple books that we have it lined up after this. If you want to see a specific book, let us know in the comments below. We will work it in to our archive schedule. It drops every Friday at 1 p.m. or at least I try to. Sometimes I'm out of town. Sometimes I don't sleep on Thursdays and it affects my Fridays. But again, thank you guys for your support. Let's jump in to the first off. What do you guys think of the book?
First off, Neil Gaiman. Enough said.
Right.
Yeah, I like this book a lot. As you mentioned it off the prep show, but like John Romita Jr., he's not one of my favorite artists, but he works on this book.
Yeah.
He like the way he draws Icarus and way he draws the Eternals in such a commanding way, like the way their chests are always out, like flying, like they are above the rest in all sense of that phrase. You know, like the way he draws everyone so big and powerful and regal is what regal really. It's amazing. It really fits the tone of the book and the story. Like Randy, you were saying. Yeah, this story really kind of brings a new light to the Eternals, makes it easy for more modern audiences, which I really like. I really do enjoy the Kirby run, but I would only recommend that if you're like just like a hardcore comic book reader. If you're wanting something because the movie's coming out and you want to know what's going on, this is a perfect starting point. Right,
and I think we picked the perfect modernizing run. The reason why I didn't want to pick the Kieran Gillen run is yes, you have a friendly face in Thanos, but it's just the premise of that book is they're all dying. And I don't want to I don't want to recommend that book as a starting point for newer readers, also because the book is still picking up and I don't know where it's going yet. So I could say, oh, it's great right now, but it'll suck later, or it's not the best now and it'll be great later. I don't know yet. This book has started and ended, so I have a concise judgment of start.
Yeah, I think this version has a better origin, an easier to understand origin as well.
Right.
The origin of the Eternals can get a little convoluted with everything going on, and especially with the time frame, like of how old they are. This really kind of like shows it. This really shows it really well.
And the flashbacks are great. Stefan, what did you think of this book?
I enjoyed it a lot. I remember checking this out when it was first coming out. So back in
2007.
No, 2006. I was just getting out of high school, and I was just really diving into all because I grew up X-Men, but I was just really trying to dive into every facet of Marvel at the time. And so this was, like you said, Michael said, Gaiman, Romita Jr. made it an easy grab. I had never really read the Eternals. I'd heard of them throughout like books like Earth X, stuff like that.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Never understood the concept or like how they were different. I got them and the Inhumans confused a lot before I read this book. So this definitely cleared up a lot of the misconceptions or associations they have with the Inhumans, the differences,
Right.
and like
Very
you guys
easy to
said,
do. Very easy
yeah,
to do.
absolutely. They got a very similar concept. But like you guys said, this streamlined it a whole lot and just made. I think it's if you're interested, like you guys already said, if you're interested in the Eternals, it's probably best to start here than the Kirby stuff or the Gillian stuff or any other run because it just
I don't think there has been any other run.
They have
really.
like
I mean,
one
well,
shot.
They had a one shot, but like this is what we were
Okay.
we were kind of talking about this earlier, kind of backstage prepping a little bit. It takes a special writer like Neil Gaiman and an artist like John Romita Jr. to take a book or take a property that hasn't been touched for reasons that Jack Kirby wanted something that was 100% his. He started, ended this book, and created concepts that were very ahead of its time, like we spoke about earlier, but also like left you with no wiggle room. So the only way to make it relevant is to kind of revamp it, but Neil Gaiman does it in a way where you're not taking away anything Kirby did. You're kind of explaining their situation and reinvigorating for the modern reader.
I think that real quick though, I think they did one series after Gaiman, but it didn't really take off. I know it was like 10 issues, but
not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough, no.
Yeah.
No. Not enough for anyone to remember. You know, it's like we're gonna erase it. But here's the thing where Marvel was at the time when the Eternals were coming. Marvel was getting ready to gear up for Thanos to kind of lead the charge, right? Thanos created in 1974, coming out of the page of Iron Man, crossing over to Avengers, and we'd Silver Surfer. We all know what happens next. Infinity Gauntlet, boom. And the whole point of Marvel going in that cosmic sci-fi was one god being Thanos, who's not really a god, but he was a godlike image, right? Trying to achieve a greater purpose, which was obviously dying and being appeasing to Lady Death, Mistress Death.
Right.
Okay. So you had a bunch of heroes, grounded heroes that we already know fighting this godlike being. Obviously, we saw the Celestials come in and Infinity Gauntlet because it called for that at the time, but they weren't a part of the story to really be like, oh my gosh, the Eternals are there, because they really weren't. It's the Celestials because Thanos made so much commotion in space.
Right.
This was 8 gods, more than 8 gods, created by a greater being. So how do you achieve that greater being at the time when no one's really tackled it? You don't. And it was just a 100% Kirby concept that really only he had the mind to understand. If he created it 10 years later, maybe in like 1985, 1982, kind of after we saw how comics were revolutionized in the later Bronze Age, a huge part of that was Walter Simonson. Kind of like if he did that part, I think it would have been much more well received. You know, you also had the Fantastic Four getting into sci-fi cosmic concepts, but it was never to this degree where you have to worry about 8 gods, 8 powerful beings who can't die. What do you do with people that can't die? What do you do with when you have this huge 35-year time lapse of gods who can't die just living on Earth? You erase their memory. You create something that erases their memory, so they have to find themselves retelling their origin story and coming together. That's what this book is in a nutshell. So we start with a doctor named Mark Curry, and he's kind of has a hard knock life, as Jay-Z likes to put it. And whenever he goes to sleep, he gets flashbacks, kind of like PTSD, of what his life was previously. Now, Mark in this story, I believe, is Makari.
Yes.
Mark in this story is Makari, which you can kind of tell because of the name Mark Curry.
Mark Curry.
Yeah, I like that.
Duh. I used to have my karate students. Whenever I'd say something stupid or obvious, they'd be like, duh. I'm like, okay. And they're like 5 years old. But anyway, so we get flashbacks to the monsters that would tear them to pieces that I mentioned earlier. And then we get a quick little snippet of the Celestials, and kind of you get to see like their godlike stature here. And later on in the book, we're going to really see that on full display. Kind of like how Michael mentioned earlier, this is one of my favorite John Romita Jr. projects. We talked about it when he was on the show earlier in the summer. Actually, this is one of them we talked about, and I actually have not read this run in a very long time. So when he mentioned it on the show, I was like, "Oh yeah, you did that," and I was like, "Oh wait, he did that? Yes, he did. I have it." It was like one of the first things I've ever read. So it's much better in hindsight. So this guy named Ike Icarus, however you want to pronounce it. I'm sure the movie will sum that up for us.
Icarus.
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 So
Is it
Oh.
Icarus?
yeah, it's Ike, Ike, and then Harris. It's his human
Icarus.
name.
Like
And
Ike.
Icarus is
Oh,
how
Icarus. I thought you were like saying his name's Icarus. I was like, wait,
No,
what?
no, it's Icarus.
This is me because I've done like 4 shows today. But anyway, and coffee has powered my brain for the next hour. It's like my
Cheers.
8th cup. Cheers, cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Oh yeah, of course.
High-powered water, H2O. So Ike is trying to tell him, you are greater than this. Get yourself together, because Mark isn't really a doctor. He's just trying to get through med school. He's like a wannabe doctor. He's like, yeah, but Ike is like,
Want to be doctor.
he's like, he has the whole display. He has the whole like
totally.
little heart.
He's no Doctor
thing.
Strange over here. Let's not be
He's-
rude.
he doesn't sleep with as many women as Doctor Strange, so he's a wannabe Doctor Strange.
He's too busy.
He's too
Yeah.
busy trying to
30-hour
be a
day.
doctor.
Shifts, man.
But I guess all work, no little play for Akari. So
Don't feel too bad for him. He's an immortal warrior.
Yeah.
Fine.
who lost his memory?
He'll get over it in due time.
He'll be fine.
So he's like kind of mulling over everything. He's like, yeah, he's like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, eat my ass, kind of like, get off my lawn, Icarus, whoever you are. So Ike comes back. He just comes right to like the staircase of his apartment, kind of like I don't know how to describe it because we don't have these in Maryland. I know they do in like New York, or like I've seen them in the Daredevil show because of all the stunts. So I know they have them in New York, but what is it, like a platform? Oh, platform.
Oh, well, they're like the emergency stairs.
Yeah, the emergency stairs. The things that you only use for in movie stunts.
Yeah.
So then he's like, yeah, what do you do? And Ike tries to convince him again. He just like kind of jumps off. He's like, well, there's a reason why you just love going fast and you never stop. Right? So we kind of get a tease of, if you're a reader, what Makari's power is. And that is kind of speed. Ikaris, we're kind of seeing him having that leadership role, which he does. We see Cersei, we see Athena, kind of mingling in there. We get to know them. Obviously, like Cersei's name is Cersei, so it's like kind of hard to mess that up. And then Athena's name is Abby. I don't know where they got that from. I guess that was it Abby, or was that?
No, that was her. That was Cersei's.
That was her friend. Okay, that was her
Yeah.
best friend. I'm so sorry. See, this book gets very
That's all right.
confusing, you guys.
No, it's all good.
Still hit the thumbs up.
But it wasn't as catchy as Ike or Mark.
I know. It's like he stopped trying on their names all of a sudden. He's like, you know what?
Yeah,
Cersei,
dude, I'm good. Yeah.
Whatever,
Cersei,
that's
I'm
fine.
okay.
People
Cersei's
get
the
it.
greatest.
Yeah. Right.
You get it, right? He's like, oh, come on, guys. So we just get like a lot of dialogue, and we're meeting up with this Russian organization. I'm gonna in Vorozhok.
Vorzokian.
Yeah, good luck. I couldn't do it. I just
Yeah.
like that guy.
I said the Vor
bad
and
guys.
Vorzokian, the bad
bees.
guys. Which that's where we're gonna be learning about our antagonists later on in the thing, and then we actually see Ikaris and Athena meeting up. This time it is Athena because she has her gold outfit on, and we see them meeting up, kind of discussing their heritage and how to bring everyone back. We see some thugs when Ike starts walking back home, kind of changing out of his Eternals kind of get up, and he beats the dude senseless. The dude pushes him off the ledge and drops a bomb on him, and this guy is working for Verzokia, or he is Verzokian. He's working in that little gang. So there's a Russian gang trying to kill the Eternals because they know about them and they know how to root them out. Unbeknownst to the Avengers that this is going on because they're too busy right now fighting a civil war, and kind of Tony Stark is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Norman Osborn at this time is trying to do some really big bad things, and Bendis basically has every single Marvel character under his wing, and Neil Gaiman can't really cross over, except for one character, and that's Iron Man. And we're going to see Yellow Jacket, the biggest loser of the Civil War. So
You kind of get teased. Gaiman throws in like, oh yeah, they're still part of the Marvel universe. Don't worry.
Yeah,
like, you're still reading a Marvel comic. Here's Iron Man.
Here's the
let's under that here. Yeah.
You're fun.
Civil War.
Right.
All right.
So we meet up with Mr. Druig, and Droog.
Something.
Druig. We're gonna learn
Close
in the movie.
enough.
We're gonna learn in the movie about all these
Yeah.
pronunciations that only John or Jack Kirby and Neil Gaiman really know how to say. I bet you Neil Gaiman doesn't even know how to say it. But and Alan Morris is sitting behind a camera saying, "What?
I did it first." No.
Right? So anyway, I think this is one of my favorite parts of the book. Ike is in the coma, and Mark comes in. He's like, "Oh, hi, Mark." He's like, "How did you know?" He's like, "I knew your heat signatures, like how you breathe for a very long time." He's like, "That's not creepy." And he's like, "So," and he's in a coma, but the first thing he says is like, "So do you believe me now?" And I was like, and Mark is like, "No," and just like leaves. So, now we can really get introduced to Tony Stark because he's getting involved in this meeting, and that is how Tony Stark is going to meet the Eternals, is basically being on business, but not business casual for Tony Stark. Which, so now we really get the origin story between Ike and Mark. They're talking, and we get this whole flashback. This is where we learn about the Celestials coming down on Earth, and apparently they were like giraffes and lions and elephants. Like apparently they had like horns before mankind. So do with that what you will.
It was a crazy place then, man.
Right?
Crazy place.
So
wow.
So basically, these Celestials used their magic and kind of created like these beasts into what you call Eternals. So they created the Eternals, and you got a bunch of them, again, all meant for a specific role in society. So that has been pushed, and then once these monsters wanted to experiment on them, that's when the Eternals came back, and then they had like a trial date, and the Celestials no longer saw need for them. So we're getting a lot of Inhumans vibes here. And basically now there's a select group left of them. Okay. But keep in mind, none of these guys really understand what's going on. And then Mark leaves it out. He's like, but Spider-Man told me that he got his powers from reading chariots from gods. I guess he'd be full of it too. And that's essentially like kind of where we are left. Ike is kind of just sitting there watching TV. And then Mark ends up going home, kind of like rethinking.
He doesn't believe him. Yeah, he's like
his life decisions.
Yeah, I'm tired, man.
And then Ike just kind of like passes out, and he kind of like slips back into his coma. And then we're on issue 2. By the way, these covers look fantastic. So if you want to collect these in floppies, I totally recommend doing it.
Who was the artist? I looked.
I couldn't tell you.
Ah, man.
Who the cover artist?
Yes.
Yeah, I have no idea, but they're really talented.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Where are they today? Like, I don't see. If they go to a Comic-Con, I guarantee you they have like no line.
Oh yeah.
It was weird because I was just at a Comic-Con, and literally everyone but like Bob McLeod and Jim Shooter had lines. I was like, Jim Shooter literally had no line. I was like, did everyone like I know the inside joke is Jim Shooter does not understand, or no one really remembers him as being editor-in-chief, but like, come on.
He's one of the best. It's
right?
debatable, but
I get some people don't remember anything before House of M, but because that's what we're told.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
But anyway, we start the issue with Icarus kind of in like a tube tank, and they're kind of I don't want to say like studying him. I guess they are.
In a sense, yeah, they're studying, running experiments / torture. It's a lot of.
Yeah, I mean they go over that at the beginning too. They're like the deviants kind of experimented on the early Eternals, and that's where like we needed to learn how to fight. We need to learn to fight back against the deviants.
Right.
So they're trying to study them.
We get a cool little meeting between Mark and this other girl, which she is another Eternal, and that's Cersei, right?
Cersei.
Yeah.
Cersei.
Oh,
Yeah, Mark and Cersei. See, this is my only complaint about this book. Is you don't really get to know who's who when they're in their human form.
Personality wise, yeah.
Right. Like
brief glimpses, but
you get but it's like Neil Gaiman doesn't want you to know who they are until like they all come together. And I was like, that does not help me right now when I'm trying to talk about this. Because like they never say each other's names except for Mark Curry.
Yo, by the end of that book.
If I had it's like a cool drinking game. Every time you see Mark Curry, take a shot. We wouldn't make it through this stream.
I don't know. I think Neil Gaiman at the same time is kind of assuming if you're reading this, you kind of know who these characters are.
But we don't.
I know we don't. Cersei was a big character for a while in the Avengers.
Yeah, and then
For a while, she was part of the team. She was an active member of the Avengers and the in general in the Marvel universe for a very long time. So I think he was under the impression that people just knew who these characters were, which I don't think was the greatest impression idea that he probably could have had.
Well, Neil Gaiman also kind of has that style to him where he's like, when he's not writing Sandman, which I haven't read yet, but I've heard, he kind of has like based off other books that I've read of his, it's like he's a very kind of like a you should know this already kind of demeanor. Because I'm writing it, you should know it came before me, kind of. Because I came in to say, you should know what mess I'm cleaning up. Yeah, that's kind of what he's like trying to say.
Yeah,
but
you read this before.
Yeah. So even in the Sandman audio I tried listening to, I'm like, he's like, yeah, you read the comics. I'm like, oh.
Okay,
all right. Well,
I am putting on like observations, and Rob, at least Rob Liefeld, like makes me feel like I was there when George Perez started drawing, when he was like probably still like being conceived, you know. But but anyway, they get a cool little moment. They're like, oh, I think I've known you forever, and it's like. It's just like little notes like that I thought was so meaningful to this story. And I love those little moments. I'm like a fan of that. And I think it's so dope when a writer is able to like kind of give a short line that can mean 5 different things.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I was a little curious though, based off of this, like just to see like, you know, that moments like that, just like were these characters' overall history before they got to this point, you know, like
we're never gonna know. It's like a House of M concept. Kind of like we're in this world where only one person knows and trying to convince other people, right?
Yeah.
Kind of scenario, but it's different. It's not that, and it's cool because it's to come together and save the universe, and without saying no more mutants. You just can't say that anymore. It's like saying Voldemort.
Yeah, please don't.
She
right?
shall not be named.
So then we get to know about a character called Sprite, and he's a kid who doesn't want to be a kid because he's like older than every kid. So Sprite acts
for millions of years.
Right. Sprite acts like an adult, but everyone's just like you're like Franklin Richards. I feel like Franklin Richards and Sprite like went to elementary school together and stayed through college together simply because they've never aged in comics.
That's a
I would kill to have a comic of them together.
Right?
I would be like, how does it feel to be a kid since what one was created in 1974, the other one was created in what 1968, when was Franklin Richards created? Like Silver Age, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, something like that. I was like, you guys have not aged a bit.
I don't know. I think they would be hilarious because Franklin, especially like kid Franklin Richards, would be like all happy-go-lucky. Oh, look, I'm Omega level. I am powerful. Isn't this crazy? Look at my pocket world in my literal pocket. And then Sprite's like, you're an idiot. We shouldn't be doing kids things. People are gonna think we're kids. Yeah. But also, I do want to see your
right.
Also,
let's get coffee afterwards because we should be taken seriously. But I need to see your pocket dimension, Franklin.
Right? It's kind of. Starting in them pocket dimensions, not starting in them DMs, starting in them pocket dimensions.
True though.
Oh my gosh, that would be such a cool story. See, that's what I need Kieran Gillen to write.
That would be such a cool story.
That would be a Kieran Gillen book.
I would completely read
kind of like a Loki character. Is he always the one to cause mischief, or is it just now? Because do they ever mention that in the story? Like
who?
Sprite.
I don't know. It's weird because this is my first knowledge of the Eternals outside of like Kieran Gillen. It's funny, like when I first read this book, it was when I first started collecting comics, and like I asked, like, oh, this book looks really cool. Is it good? And my friend was like, it was okay. And I'm like, well, it's the Eternals. They're kind of important. And it's like little naive Brandon getting into comics being like, they look cool. And I'm like, I didn't know that like years later, they still would not really be like as cool as I thought, but they're cool. They're okay. So we still get these flashbacks to the Eternals and kind of their big fight, which caused them to lose their memories. And we go back. We see Cersei and her friend, and we see what's his name in the background. We see Zurus kind of in the background, kind of lingering. So he's the guy with the beard, with the big red beard. So that's kind of kind of like looks like Vogelsag, but is like a lot skinnier.
Mm.
So anyway, we see the Russians kind of taking Ikaris and torturing him and still trying to use in those experiments. So Ikaris is getting a lot of PTSD from when he was experimented on years ago because he has his memories. He's the only one here other than like Cersei that has all of really their memories. So we continue going forward. Cersei's at a party and she's kind of partying up now. Cersei's like, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like fell in love with Cersei in this book. I don't want to speak for Stefan, but she was awesome in this book. We're in this like these big political meetings. Now keep in mind these guys all have like jobs outside of being the Eternals because obviously they have to keep something there. So this is Cersei's. We see Tony Stark coming in, and we see Mark. Mark is there at just being there with Cersei, and then we see somebody get shot by the Russians, and that causes the commotion for really everything to kind of start spiraling within the next few pages. And then we see more experiments of Icarus kind of getting burned, getting tested on, and then Cersei's connection is she's kind of a telepathic thing, so she can communicate really well.
Don't they all have that with each other?
Yeah, that's kind of like an inherent Eternal skill.
Just yeah, like but it's more so connected with Cersei. I kind of felt like. Because she's always been like the first one to really receive it.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
they
can all communicate with each other telepathically.
So they're all communicating with each other. Something's going down, so that causes them to kind of make moves. The Russian, that group that I can't pronounce come in.
The Bosokians, whatever.
Right, and then we see, Makari's powers come in, and that is his speed as the bullets come in. He kind of runs with Cersei, and that concludes the issue. And he's like, "Oh, I actually do have powers. Great." So
crazy.
That's leading us into the third issue, and we're seeing Mark at home, just chilling, watching TV because he's now like, "Oh, wait, I actually have powers. Cool." And he's like, "Oh, Icarus was right." So he's like, everything was like a blur to him. He's kind of going back in time. He's like, not like in his mind, he's going back in time, and he's kind of rewatching everything happen. And I believe we see Thena kind of in there as well. Correct?
Thena got captured at the party. She was before. Iron Man shows up. This was a big revelation. And Iron Man's like, "Hey, Cersei, by the way, let me talk to you.
Register.
You're an Avenger. You should have been able to handle this." And Cersei's like, "Hold up. I've never been an Avenger. I don't have powers."
Yeah.
Well, revelation. Eternals don't know who they are.
Yep.
And here we go.
All right. So. And that's kind of when like Tony's like, "Oh, wait, I know who you are. You guys don't know who you are, but you still need to register." And because we are in Civil War times, and then they don't want to register because they don't really know who they are.
Yeah, she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man." So he's like, you keep up the games. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And he is. And Sprite's just kind of talking to Mark. And Sprite is kind of playing therapist. So I thought that was like a really good kind of couch sit down. Because it's like, it's kind of playing on that therapeutic session where you actually see like a kid being on the receiving end of the therapeutic couch that we all probably know too well. If you don't know it too well, I would say definitely try it because it's an experience and it actually helps if you're open to it.
Agreed.
Only if you're open to it. If you're not open to it, it's not gonna work. So it's usually a comfy couch too. I just want to say that it's usually a comfy couch. We get to know more about the Russians and what they are doing because they have like these ancient artifacts and kind of caveman drawings of everything that happened. And this is where we get the conversation between Cersei and Iron Man about who they are. And Iron Man says, "You can't really stay neutral forever. You need to decide whose side you're on." And Cersei's like, "Well, I don't really want to do this, I'm just kind of here and I want to save my friends," right? She wants to save Ike. I think that's really what she wants to do. And Druig, he's kind of manipulating everybody around him, kind of manipulating the situation. Playing the big bad role that we're gonna see him.
He was the terrorist, but he at the party he found out he had powers as well. So he's kind of like,
She's
at
kind of
this
like,
point
yes,
trying to
I'm here.
manipulate stuff to his advantage. It's not about the country anymore. It's about him.
Right. It's more he's kind of taking the reins, almost kind of like a Red
Yeah.
Skull kind of figure.
Yeah.
And then Iron Man starts going away. He's like looking up everything, and then the blonde lady, that's Dina.
She was working for Tony as a weapons maker, and she got kidnapped. So
right. And then Dina says to Iron Man, "Take me home." Now they do go to Antarctica because that's where they get the most energy. I would say like the sun is more bearing on them, almost like a reverse Kryptonian. So
yeah, the cold really helps.
they can withstand it. Yeah,
that's why they are in Antarctica. That's why Avengers Mountain is where it's at, covered in snow. And now we're on issue 4, and again, these covers are freaking gorgeous. Like, yeah, it's just like a look at this cover. It's great. Where is it? Boom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we see Icarus butt naked. That's how we start the next issue. Like butt naked, like tush out. So Baron all, full moon and everything.
Oh.
And then he gets put into his costume. He's still in Antarctica, kind of recharging himself. And then we see him interacting. It's like we get this whole kind of welcome home thing. We flip back to Mark and Sprite, and I really love their dynamic because I guess like they're just like having fun, just being who they are. Because like for those two characters at this point in the story, it's just like it's so light because they don't have anything to worry about. Like they know who they are, but they're just chilling with it. While we see Druig, I'm sorry.
He's they're Mark or Sprite's giving him answers that he's looking for. So they got a good rapport at this point because he has no one else he can really confide in about this stuff. And this boy who's a popular teen sensation star at this time was mentioned like, he's an Eternal too. So he tracked him down, and they've developed a cool rapport at this point because that's the only person Mark can really talk about to this Eternal stuff and not feel like he's crazy.
Right. So we continue. We see Cersei kind of getting a hint from one of her pets that something is happening, and then we flip back to Sprite and Mark, and shit really happens. They kind of they fall down into, it's not really like a trap, but it's like the floor just sinks.
Yeah.
And it keeps
long
sinking.
Elevator ride, yeah.
Right, like a very long elevator ride down to.
Yeah, Sprite mentions that he's like, yeah, I can't activate it. I'm not an Eternal. And Mark's like, hold up, I thought you were. He's like, you definitely are. No, I'm not. I would be able to activate this door if I could. Only an Eternal can.
If I touch, yep.
Yeah, let me watch. You can, and Mark does, and it activates the door.
So down they went.
So down they went, and we see Ikaris summoning his strength, and he kind of makes it a good mission. He says like his whole like kind of mission statement. And I love kind of what you were talking about earlier, the way that John Romita Jr. is able to draw him, and the way the colors are working in this sequence.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what panel you're at on too. Like he's just standing there, like flying up a little bit. Yeah, it's just he's just so big. It's great.
Yeah, this one right here. I took a picture of this.
Yes,
and I think I put it on my Snap story, on my Instagram story. Is this one right here?
It's not imposing. It's just so regal. It's just like this guy is above the rest.
I want to see this in the movie.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna do that.
I want to see that. If I want to see anything in the movie, it's that. But we really see what's going on. We see them in their costumes, more so than they were before, except for Sprite. So we see Mark in his costume that we're probably going to see it in the movies. And then we go, I don't know if we're flashing back here, going back in the past. If anyone can help me out with this sequence.
What is it? Is it him being explained, him and Cersei's relationship over the years?
Yes.
Yeah, that's past, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get this flashback, kind of going back into the past, back kind of how they lost their memories and which celestial they need to awaken in order to find themselves again and kind of regain their past knowledge instead of having it like kind of said through Icarus. If I'm correct, which I believe I am based off.
I can't remember what was it around. Was it next issue they kind of revealed who was the reason for the memory? So
at the end of this issue, Icarus comes out and he says we have to go now. And then Athena's like, go where Ikaris? She said, we're going to awaken the Dreaming Celestial because we need to save the world. The Dreaming Celestial is the one that will help them kind of regain everything. When they went down, that was what they learned, is we need to find these, we need to go back to our originating point, which is awakening the Celestial. Now, this is confusing. Just imagine what Jack Kirby established at the time. So
was this before they found out about Sprite, though? Or there's the next issue?
That's the next issue.
Okay.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. Hold your horses. Like, I know you want to talk about that.
It's a good part. I just
want to make sure I'm not jumping too far. Like I'm getting the it's bleeding together.
Are you talking about where Sprite gets captured?
No, we'll get to. You guys know what I'm talking about, though.
So Sprite gets captured, right? And these monsters that we saw earlier in their origin are kind of coming back. If this makes no sense, read the book. It'll make more sense, because kind of visualizing how this is all going down, I would say like this is the way the movie's going to be, except on their own planet, and retconning somewhat of what the Marvel Universe is going to be. And and then we kind of learn what Zurus is up to. He's kind of manipulating. He finds Ajax. So he finds Ajax and kind of brings them together. So Ajax is definitely going to come in. When Icarus was fully like reactivated, the other Eternals that we haven't seen, they kind of get an alert, and that's when Zurus kind of knows, okay, I have to go get Ajax to bring them back in here. And then we see Makari.
Ajax woke him up, though.
I'm sorry?
Ajax woke him up.
Zurus woke up Ajax.
When he was on the streets as a homeless man?
Zurus went over to Ajax and woke him up.
I'm confused. I maybe I missed the panel, but
yeah.
Sorry.
So Zurus, you kind of see him. Oh wait, no, you're right. You're right. I was looking at it wrong. My bad. Bad. You're right. Ajax woke up Zurus. I'm so sorry. This is what happened. Again,
it happens a lot. It's okay. We're all here.
We're all on board.
We're all on board. We're all on board. So this is why we're doing this. So we see Druid getting into his end game, and he's manipulating. He's kind of taking over that authoritarian role that we've kind of been seeing progress over the course of this story. Now, Druid is an Eternal. He's just not a good one, and he is more powerful than the rest. He is the deviant Eternal. So basically, he's manipulating humankind because they are weaker, and he needs something to rule, kind of like Loki when he came down to Earth. Within all this, the Dreaming Celestial wakes up, and this is kind of when everything starts, and they start knowing who they are. We see them in costume, and we learn that Makari has been captured, so they have to go save him because Makari's had this arc, and we see everybody meet up. Makari's getting tortured by the beasts that took him earlier, and then the Celestial wakes. So Druig and his henchmen and the Russians, they waken the Celestial. The Celestial you don't want to get waken up by.
No. Yeah.
So there's a kind of a darker Celestial out there, and that's the one that the deviants kind of look up to.
Yeah,
is the one that created those deviants, and that's the one that they woke up. So we see kind of like the whole world sleeps while this is all going down, and we see kind of the Eternals coming out in a big bad way. And Ikaris is kind of saving everybody so this issue is very action packed, and we basically just see Ikaris fighting everyone. We see the Eternals going at it, and we just see them working together just to fight these beasts. And as that's going on, there's like a diversion with Druig. Galactus is kind of like Galactus and the Watcher are both scared shitless of what's going on right now, which I thought was kind of kind of raising the stakes, because those of you who are familiar with the Watcher, those who are similar with Galactus, understand that this is a very high powered concept. That okay, if these guys are scared to death, then you know what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it shows a little bit of where the stakes are.
Right.
And that's when Iron Man's like, okay. Right? Because then one of the Celestials fell, and it kind of created like this big disturbance, and everyone sees guys like giant robots, but like they've been around for billions and billions of years. So Iron Man kind of comes in.
You gotta take this out.
Right. Yellow Jacket comes in, and they're just kind of like trying to put a stop to it. But all of the Eternals like, yeah, no, you're
Can't let you do that. I'm not programmed for that. Yeah.
Right. They're like, this is not your speed. And Iron's like, I fought gods before. Like, yeah, but these guys are different. They're slightly more godlike than anything.
True.
So this celestial that fell down is alive, and it's like about to burn the place. And just to get like a visual, this is one of my favorite panels right here, because that's just like how you see. That's like what I want to see in the movie. It's like this big, like Eiffel Tower, like Empire State, like skyscraping being just completely coming down. So Icarus being the more fully functioning Eternal.
I got confused by that, but he was the only one fully operational, whatever that.
Well, because he was the one who kind of got all of his memories back in the first place, and he was the one who kind of went to Antarctica to kind of put all the pieces together. So I guess like kind of going forward is like he has a more of that kinetic energy.
Yeah, I kind of took it as he was like reborn a little bit, because they had like those empty pods, right?
Right.
And then was it the deviants like blast him? You see him like in like a skeleton, right?
Yeah.
And so I was under the impression that he kind of got like reborn and then kind of like started over, because that whole machine, the archive machine was just, he's like, you got to tell me everything. He's like, yeah, acknowledged. You know.
Right.
So what about like when Ajax and Zurus, how would like and Athena, they recognized they were Eternals, but they weren't. Do they all have to die to be fully operational, like reborn? That was a lingering question. I don't think the answer. Maybe that was part of the mystery. You know,
I don't know. It's like
they're not supposed to be able to die.
Exactly.
Maybe like they have to reach like a very low point in order to get reborn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe they have to come to like a near like humanized death.
I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah, like a near-death experience.
Right.
As a human. Yeah.
So how do you defeat a big deviant celestial? You call a good one. So they all put their hands together.
You call a good one.
I was gonna say you don't, but that's
well, that's exactly what happened. You know, they're all talking, and Ajax is like, well, are we gonna go back to sleep for millions of years? And are we not gonna remember anything now? They were relevant again, and Zura's like, hell no, we're gonna put our hands together. Eternals on 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're calling for help.
Give me mind.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly what they would say.
You know, that's exactly like what happened. That's exactly what happened. Like we're right here, hands in on 3, Eternals on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's get help.
Team Eternals, yeah.
So they all like kind of bond together, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on? We don't know." And they all kind of like fall.
Yeah, that plan did not.
It didn't work. They're like, shit, we're down.
Back to the drawing board, guys, quick.
Yeah.
So we just like kind of see what's going on, how they're gonna rebound from all of this. And that Star Fox that we saw no, that's Ikari. Just kind of taking he's kind of awake, and he's like having a little power trip right now. So he's like kind of taking matters into his own hands, kind of putting the team on his shoulders. And then Cersei wakes up, and then so now Mark is the one who's like kind of in that role of leadership. And then we see Iron Man, we see Hank wake up, and we just kind of see them regrouping to fight.
Quick question. All right,
big alien space robot.
Do they actually have mind controlling abilities? Do you guys know? Or is that like
Druig does.
Okay. Because you know, when Hank came, he was like, Icarus, were you just mind controlling me? He's like, yeah, I was mind controlling. Now just go sit over there. He's like, are you mind controlling me right now? He's like, yep. I'll call you when I need you, man. And he's just like, okay, I'll go sit over here.
Right.
I thought that was a funny bit. I was like, is that really mind control, or was Hank Pym just kind of whistling out, you know, like, because it was beyond him.
So we see Iron Man still trying to push, even though like, oh, you guys lost, so now it's just time to register. If you want to help, register. And Zura's like, I'm not doing it. He says exactly, if you saw two groups of children arguing over which of them could play in some waste ground, would you choose sides? He's like, yeah, no.
He's trying
So
to say
basically, what he's
something
trying to say is like, if you saw two people, right, this Team Cap and Team Iron Man, kind of playing some petty game amongst yourself, you would pull a Ben Grimm and just say, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah. I mean that's essentially because so that was both. They're supposed to be
That was
fighting bad
Ben
guys. They're
Grimm.
fighting each
That
other.
was Ben Grimm. He just left. He said, screw it.
I'm going to Canada. No, did he go to Canada? Where'd he go? I know he did.
He said he was like that SpongeBob. And he's like, I'm gonna head out.
This is so off topic, but since we're talking about Civil War, the funny thing about Civil War was like, during at the time, Canada was like, yo, we've had superhero registration over here for years, no problem.
Yeah.
Debatably, but that was just funny. Canada.
Alpha Flight.
Yeah. As clean at Department H, those sons of guns.
Right. All right. So this is the world nobody knew to exist. We're in the last issue of this, and the Eternals kind of have to pull something out of their behind to fight the guy. This is where I thought the art kind of went off the rails, and it kind of got really, really stupid.
Yeah.
They, like, honestly, I had a very hard time putting together this last issue. All I know is they talked. We got a flashback. And we get like a Xerus is kind of like, yeah, I messed up. Druig was not supposed to be trusted because this is like all Druig's making. Druig he woke up these Celestials, he woke up these monsters, and that's why they're coming in to experiment on all of these Eternals. And basically, it is the Eternals.
And Sprite kind of set all that up though, because Sprite wanted to be
an Eternal.
Grow up. He didn't want to be.
He wanted to be a real boy. Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
Pinocchio, but go back in your place. But
I mean, he did. He started all of that. He manipulated Droog into doing all of that because he just was pissed at the Eternals for all him.
He's the definition of Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I want to grow up, and then he does. So we get a nice little dinner between Tony and Cersei, and she's like, still doesn't really remember, and she just leaves. She's like, yeah, no, sorry. And we switch to, excuse me, I'm burping from my coffee. We get a battle, and the way this book is formatted, so this is like kind of what I've noticed about all of John Romita's work post Amazing Spider-Man in the 2000s. He works in very simple panels.
Yeah.
Because he can't really draw those creative stuff like he used to. Also, just the way comics were made back then were very easy to read, easier than like what we're seeing with like Riley Rossmo is probably an extremist. Even like the way you see like Andrea Soriento do their panels and Bruno Redondo makes it kind of a popping out of the page, more of a untraditional flow.
His Daredevil though stuff was popping out of the page.
Oh yeah, his Daredevil run was legendary.
Yeah,
but it was more of like a condensed space, not really like
but
he still worked in traditional comic grids.
He
slowly regresses through time. Like this one and like Kick-Ass are like one of the rare ones for me that I think it works really well with the story.
I'm not talking about his Daredevil stuff. I'm talking about the panel layout. I'm talking about like the panel format.
That has to do with him drawing, though. You know, his panel layouts are part of that. Like they got a little, like you were saying, a little bland.
But granted, to your point, I completely agree with you. Right. His paneling's gotten more simplistic throughout the years. He has a very simplistic style right now. It's hard to mimic. It really is. He's very his style. But that's what he does, and especially these last few issues. Like I don't know, I don't know.
He's what do they call him? Like he's a good artist because he is on time. Like I felt like he rushed the last couple issues.
Oh yeah. Like this one feels very rushed, especially because like the amount of close-ups and headshots you get. So we get this scene. What is his name? Why am I blanking on his name? Big dude with the beard.
Azura. Damn it. Azura.
That's not it. Sure, let's go with it. Xerus. So we meet Xerus and Sprite having a conversation. They're on the bus, and Sprite's just like, I'm just a kid. I can't really do this. You know? Like, are we going to Olympus? Where are we going? And Xerus ends up, like, kind of putting him to sleep and then snapping his neck. And
I was gonna say you put him to sleep already.
you put him to
He
sleep.
definitely did.
And then we flip back to to the main battle, and this is kind of where everything comes in. Icarus gets ready. Him and Makari get ready for like the final blow. Xerus is on Mount Olympia with Dina, and then Xerus announces that like Druid has returned, right? So the battle is over. So like Ikaris kind of they won, right? And
They keep
because
calling Makari, I forget, like the Scud something.
Skadrach.
Skadrach. It reminded me of Doom. If you
Right.
guys seen the new, I haven't seen the Lynch one in forever, but they kept calling Paul Atreides like something in there, and
Right. Anyway,
that reminded me of that.
right. So Xerus is kind of and so like between all of them after fighting, they're able to like send the monsters back like to repel them. And then they end up like kind of taking over Druid, which makes Druid kind of retreat a little bit. And then it's up to Ikaris kind of like to bring back the Eternals, and they go back up to Mount Olympus to live peacefully. Yay.
There it is.
That's the story. It was great. I would recommend it for all of the newer readers out there. I would say it is very confusing getting to know these characters, as you saw throughout the stream, because we were also trying to figure out who was who in here several times, which I promise you, not all of our book reviews are like that, because we actually have a better grasp on these characters than
these are very unknown characters.
They're
I think
unknown.
it's a good primer for anyone who's curious about the movie but don't know too much about it.
This is like worse as in less people know about it than like Guardians. When Guardians first came out, hardly anyone knew who they were, and there wasn't a lot of story about them at the time, comparatively to everything else in Marvel, like comparatively to like Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and X-Men and Spider-Man. There's so much more than anything.
Eternals
this
is even nicher.
Right.
And this is even less than that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
to work with.
My biggest concern is as an industry. Now, I don't want to see this book be in the movie. I don't want to see everything from this book. I don't want to see everything from Kirby being in the movie. I think a lot of people are so strung up, or comic fans, like, oh my gosh, we had to see Kirby's vision come true. You're wrong, because you're not seeing Kirby's vision come true. You are seeing the version of what Kevin Feige thinks is Jack Kirby's vision, combining with what will look good to people who don't know who the F the Eternals are. If it were Jack Kirby's vision, we would be just as confused, because Jack Kirby would go off the rails. But and we like a budget, I don't know, but anyway, Kevin Feige will take this group, and what my biggest concern is, if you look at how many people, let's say a Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man is a pretty universal character, right? So you're really trying to create a Spider-Man movie that appeases not to the universal people that know the character, know the name, but people who A, have read the comics, B, just maybe have watched a cartoon, C, just maybe even just like know the name Spider-Man, or just know the slightest thing, and make it appealing that looks good for anyone to be attached to that character. When you have a group like the Eternals, right, you have, and I always say this, you always have like a bunch of different fan bases. The huge collector fan base is the Eternals are even harder for very well-read people to grasp.
For sure.
As you've noticed, because all three of us are very well-read. If you watch any of our shows, any of Michael's TikToks, any of Link's shows with me or with Fable, One Collection Down, Station, you guys know that they are very well-read. The Eternals is like, you gotta have an eighth of the whole comic world, which in the grand scheme of the real world is like a 24th maybe of the universe, who maybe knows a damn thing about the Eternals.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know about the Eternals, so I hope that they are able to make this movie like a Guardians thing, like kind of take them away that cinematic to look at that you would have never seen in a book.
Well, it's a very difficult character base to really kind of like explain in a 2-hour. That's why this is like one of the longest Marvel movies, I think, is because they have to really explore their background and kind of understand what's going on with these characters that have been alive and interacting with human beings for all of existence of Earth at this point. And so like answering those questions on where were you, what were you doing, is going to be kind of a big thing, while at the same time explaining each one of these characters. Plus, there's a lot of them. There's
Right.
a lot of them, and so interacting with these characters, understanding each one on an individual level is going to be quite a bit. It's probably a very challenging movie.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You
They
know,
didn't have a singular movie for every character, Avenger style, to really flesh
and
them
even
out.
the Avengers team had less people involved. Like the Eternals has
far.
like I don't know, like eight, nine different
people.
I think like 9, yeah.
Well, if you just look at this cover, I mean, they're all going to be there. You have kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like 12 fucking people.
Yeah, that's
everyone on this book.
Plus, then the villains. Plus, then not in the villains in that villain story. Like this is going to be quite a layered story. So we'll see what happens. But that's the Eternals for you. They haven't gotten too, even comics wise, they don't do too much with them, and that's going to be the thing.
Because it's like it's almost like, okay, you're using these godlike people. They can show up at any given time and take over the universe. They can show up any time and take over any character of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would put Icarus up against any character in the Marvel universe simply because the motherfucker can't die and has seen everything. Right? I would put him against Thor. I would put him against Galactus. I would put him against Silver Surfer. I'd put him against I'd put him against whatever the hell Donny Cates will use the Valifax and creates in God Country.
Maybe not comics wise, but Chris Hemsworth is getting old. Well, I don't know how far Chris Hemsworth is.
His biceps still look like he's 25.
He looks great, but I'm not. The guy who plays Icarus, I know, Game of Thrones. He's few years. If he's probably maybe.
Isn't he like? Isn't it the actor Jamie Lannister? No.
No, that's no. It was Rob Stark.
That's a good looking dude.
Yeah,
and I'm straight, and that dude is very good looking.
He can be straight in a way.
Like I used to have curly hair as a kid, and my curly hair just what I would aspire my curly hair to look like that.
Yeah,
that's why it looks like.
I don't know.
I never achieved it.
It depends. Obviously, depends on what the movie's going to be, but like in the comics, you can't. Brandon, to your point, you can't have them around all the time, because if you have them around all the time, they're just going to win all the time. Like having them in the movies, especially the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't see them being around, especially with actors like Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek, right? You're not going to have them for every move. Like, you're not going to have them for franchises.
Not only that, they're up in age, bro.
They got awesome. You know how much money Angelina Jolie is worth nowadays?
Yeah, but, she has other things to be doing. She's not going to be around very long.
Yeah, she has photo shoots and like whatever she's making her living off of.
I can see this movie ending with them all dying and their memories, so they're still there, but it's gonna maybe they only come around every couple thousand years when their memories are whatever reawakens their memories. And so that
watch this just be an introduction to Black Knight. He's the only one that's gonna
that has longevity.
Who wasn't even in this book, and Black Knight
in this book. Yeah, read
and
this.
I love Black Knight. I love Ebony Blade. I know if you guys read the Cy Spurrier miniseries that came out with Dalvia on the art.
I heard that was good. I didn't read it.
It was fantastic.
I'll check that out.
Like, I don't think I've ever read a better Black Knight story, which was great because he kind of just spun out of what was it? King in Black. He kind of just like spun out of. Wasn't it King in Black? It wasn't War of the Realms?
No, the one before. It was War of the Realms.
What did he? No, he wasn't in War of the Realms because his he spun out of King in Black.
Who we talking about? You talking about Black Knight?
Yeah, spun out
the
of
new Black Knight.
I'm pretty sure Black Knight was in War of the Realms. No,
because this book came out this year.
Because he gave didn't he give his sword to
Yeah, he has the ebony
blade.
Ebony,
I don't know. He didn't come out of War of the Realms. He came out of King in Black because he was being used for that. Yeah, it was King in Black because there's a whole tie-in because of the because Null sent some people back in time and called him to the future. I was like,
Fazia had his sword for a while though from
it wasn't. Yeah, I know.
But I feel like they've tried to. This is back to the random, but back in terms. I feel like they've tried to push Icarus to make him like a hero within the community. I feel like they're trying to do that right now in Gillian's run just a little bit.
Well, he's the only one that's like notably
got the hero, the look. But Circe operated as an Avenger for years, and she did her thing. I don't know. Icarus has never caught on.
I mean, I think they're just trying to push the concept of Icarus because he's more noticeable. He's more of like a Superman, a Black Bolt, if
classic
you
superhero.
will.
Yeah.
He fits the
Powerhouse.
yeah. He fits the every trope from the 70s superhero that you would want to see, right?
Right.
Or from any character, right? Like, and it kind of sucks because like at the time you're not gonna have Cersei lead a group of gods, beings. That's just the way the time was. Was it right? It was out of their ignorance at the time. I would just say that. Obviously times are different, and we can have kind of like we're going to see in the Black Panther, a female-led movie, like we saw in Captain Marvel, a female-led movie. Like we saw in Wonder Woman. Of course, that's a female-led movie, but we also saw Black Widow, very powerful movie. But I think Cersei's gonna have a big role. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I'm also excited to see Black Knight because he is more involved with the Avengers than any other character from the Eternals, with probably the exception of Cersei. But I love Black Knight. I want them to like. They're not gonna be able to do like a whole Game of Thrones thing, but I would love if we got that as a TV show and they kind of barely touch those concepts. More like I would say like a Witcher or the Lost Kingdom type.
Oh
thing.
yeah. I also hope they kind of move towards like they definitely should never do his 90s costume and definitely do the costume he has right now.
Please.
Like, I want the brown leather jacket.
no, and his lightsaber thing, like whatever.
Get out of here. Get off my lawn.
I can see them doing like a Game of Thrones type approach.
Exactly. I mean, look with Kit Harington, like playing. Of course, they can do a Game of Thrones. He probably already has the fur cape. He's already ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, again, if you guys are catching this on the replay, made it this far, thank you so much. Hit the thumbs up again if you see the Eternals. But I hope you enjoy it. I know I'm going to see it on Friday.
Absolutely.
Me too.
So you guys will probably hear our thoughts on weekly wrap up. Things coming down in the pipeline for Comics Kings. Just quick little announcements. We are partnering up with AWA to promote their books, to promote their creators, spotlight them. So you're going to be seeing a lot of their books featured on the channel, as well as some of their writers coming in Creators Corner, which I'm excited to announce. I can probably talk about it to the public. It's something we've been keeping under wraps. Merch is coming out sooner than later. So if you want merch, DM me right now because I don't have the website generated for that. I'm still working on all of that. Merch, you can get a shirt like this, or it's going to be in black. Other than that, it's Thursday. This would already passed. Make sure you check out the Leah Williams interview that came out the day before. So if this is coming out on the 5th, check us out on the 4th. Leah Williams. I'm sure it was a great conversation because Leah Williams is awesome. We probably talked all about Polaris and Trial of Magneto because Polaris is my wife and not hers. Other than that, we have Jim Shooter coming on the 10th, followed by Marv Wolfman the 19th, and J.M. DeMatteis, who we will be talking about. We're going to be the first people to really promote Ben Reilly Spider-Man #1. That'll be on shelves the following month at the end of December. So that's a really exciting stuff coming from our end. We've been working hard. We've been working really hard to bring you guys these announcements that are really happening at the same time. So that's all because of your guys' love and support. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Subscribe if you like what you saw. Next book that we're going to be covering is Heroes Reborn, led by yours truly, Michael.
Hello, I can't wait.
It's going to be great because it's another We Lost Our Memory story.
I know! We were just talking about this is like House of M2, but with the Avengers. I can't wait.
I know. I don't know how I feel about the book. I just have a feeling I'm not going to like it. But
I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about it.
You liked it?
I loved it. I loved it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
I don't think anyone else will. I think I liked it because of how silly it was.
I heard someone else compared to House of M. And that had me excited.
I read the first 4 pages, and I was like, "This is Blade House of M," and I was like, "I'm done."
Yeah,
I love House of M. I can't be mad at that.
It's basically an Avengers miniseries. Jason Aaron stopped his Avengers run to do this story, and then went back to his Avengers run.
Also, real quick before we do take off, I do want to say that the link, if you want to read this book, is in the description below, or you can get it on Marvel Unlimited, like most of if it's out of print. I will just have to check where you can find it, not on eBay. But if not, have your LCS order it. They probably should be doing their reorders by now, because of the movie. And this is instead of ordering Heavy on the Kieran Gillen run, ask your LCS to order on this one, and they will probably thank you endlessly. Maybe give you a bigger discount, or maybe
It's
or they can
definitely
be
in
like,
print again. I just ordered some for my shop as well.
Okay, sweet. So it'll be on Amazon and in stock trades. So we will be dropping the link then. Thank you guys so much. Have a good Friday. Happy Eternals Day.